Good day, guys. So, based on the video I actually posted on this game, Alpha Quest, which I told you was completely developed using Visual Scripting in Godot. So, I want to actually review the entire scene. So, I'm going to start from the start screen here. Okay. So, if you look at the start screen, this is what you have. So, you have the 2D node and the audio stream player, which is actually what plays the song. So if I click on this plane here, you actually hear the song. Okay, so basically I will actually make a video where I will be putting all some of these things together to see what it looks like. The sprite is actually the background here, and while the video button here, I think I have some buttons that I've actually turned off. I didn't want to use them here. So the ones I actually left, the start screen, this is the quit, the start screen quit. That's this is the button, and then the go to class is actually this start button here. So if you actually click on this go to class, let's click on that. Now we have the function. We have a function when the button is pressed. Okay, so that's what comes with this button. This is actually a button. If you actually click here and go into script, you actually see that the node is actually a button. Okay, it's actually a button node. So it has a function called press that comes with it. So you're meant to get this scene tree. So in case you don't know how to get a scene tree, you just, if you right click, you press scene, you type scene, and you have the scene tree. So the scene tree enables you to be able to, sorry, you're going to type scene change. Let's type it again. Yeah, I think I'm actually there. Scene tree. Yep, sorry for that. So we'll have scene tree. So that's for this one here, and you will have to drag this out and get your change scene. So this is actually what you're using changing your scene. Okay, so use this first one to string, and you can be able to select that, and then this resource path. So this is where you get the scene you want to change to. Okay, if you get that scene that you want to change to, so let's say for example um, maybe any particular scene that you want. So you're going to type resource. Still here, you just right click and type resource, and you actually get the resource path. So with the resource path now, you will have to do something. I'm not going to be very detailed here because I'm going to still make a more detailed video on this. You just select that and you can click here and select any particular 3D scene or 2D scene, any scene that you actually want to get. Okay, so let me see any scene that is close by we can change to. Have a scene here, so I have that scene, and you can just click on open and you can see that down. So you can just select this and drag it to this place, and remember that you have your button pressed. Okay, and then it just has one here, so you can just select that and plug it there. Okay, so that's basically how you can be able to create a switch scene. So when you press a button, it switches to another scene. This one will actually immediately switch to that scene. It makes it to play this music here. Now how we got this particular one is we selected this and we clicked from here and dragged it in here. Now, one of the things you have to know about Godot Engine is that you can literally drag in any code from here. If you are using visual scripting, you can even drag in codes from inside here and get some things there. Alright, so and you can also do some few things here, but it depends on what you're using. You can't really you can drag things like that, but it's not going to give you everything you want. It depends on what you want to do. So but just know that you can drag codes from here, from there, even from here. If you have a variable, you can just drag in something from here. Alright, so that's basically the thing you want to do. So you can also add functions from here, but we won't go into that, or add nodes from here. That's when you right, the same time as right clicking also. So we'll have that for go to class, and then you have the quit button. So the quit button, once you click on the quit button, it will scene tree.quit. So if you actually go to the scene again, you see scene tree, and if you drag it out from here, you have scene And you can see, let me go to quit. Let me just type quit. So you have your quit init. That's it there, and you can be able to actually quit. So once the best button is pressed, it can actually quit. So remember, it said you drag this out and type quit, and quit init, and ends the current iteration of the application, something that you actually run at that particular moment. So it will actually end that particular scene. So that's for the start screen that we actually have here. Okay, so other things, let's go to the 3D scene. So I'm going to click here. I've already opened this thing, so it'll be easy for me to find because I have a lot of assets that are actually used for creating this particular thing. So this is my 3D scene. I created it inside Blender, and I maybe will show you how I got the material. So you have a glass material here, and there are a few other materials. I'll be making more videos on how to put up the materials. So if you look at here, we'll have this character built in Blender and animated inside Blender too. So brought in here, and we now put up the whole animation thing. So the whole idea of the game is that this guy is gonna walk, and he touches the door. He starts an interactive class where he's pressing different buttons of alphabet, and it responds to it. It responds to him. So maybe if he presses A, there will be a voice to say A. It's more like an alphabet learning application. So here he's going for a test. When he touches that door, it changes. So the whole idea is that he needs to be able to actually touch. Once it touches a door, the door will be able to send out a signal, and it will change the scene from this 3D scene to an interactive lesson or a video lesson or a test. Okay, so this is basically the thing here we have. So if you click here, I don't really think let me see. I didn't really use the code here. I was trying to get up some few things here, but I ended up not using the code here. So the codes are actually used in the video lesson. So if you look at here now, in the 3D scene, so you have here, this is the door for the video lesson. That's this door here. If you look at when I selected this, you see that it's selected here. So this door is here. So that door has, let me go to script, and you see that it has an area node. Okay, it has an area node. Now area nodes are used to enable the code to be able to actually send something. Okay, so if you actually go to your node, let me select that and go to my node, you see that I have body entered signal. So how you actually do that, you just click on that and click on connect and select this thing there. You just select it and you click on connect. Okay, so once you connect it, it will actually create a function. All right, and that function, whenever a body enters, so let's say for example the character, anybody enters the door or touches the door, it will be able to do the same thing. They see the scene tree again, and it changes the scene to a video lesson. We have a scene called video lesson, so that's it over there. We are coming to that part. So it will change the scene to this. So this scene tree enables you to be able to launch at different scenes. Okay, so this one changes it, and this one gives you what it's going to change it to. So this one is the signal, okay, or the function. It's actually a function that emits a signal that's whenever a body enters into this particular door that touches it, it will actually start the new scene. It will actually start a new scene. So that's for the video lesson. This is how you enter into the video lessons. Then for the interactive lessons, I'm going to click that. So the same thing here, you have body enter. It's actually an area. So we have that. Now mind you, you actually have let me see the interactive class there. You actually have a mesh there, but we actually have another area 2D area 3D node that is covering it. Okay, so I will actually add it to it. If you actually look at here, here's this place here, this area. If you go down, you see that this one is a mesh instance, it's a collision shape. This one is a mesh instance. Okay, So bodies one itself is actually an area. So we'll have the same thing that we actually created. That's for the nodes, for the body entered signals. So you have that there. You click on that and you click on connect and you select the one that you want and you connect it. Once you connect it, it will give you this. So once it gives you this, you can just come in and do the same scene tree, scene change, and then you get your resource paths and then select the paths that you want. So if you want me to do that again, I can just do that again. Resource, let me get my resource paths, and once I select my resource path, I can go to my inspect, click here, and select any scene I actually want. So once I select the scene that I want to use, let me see my scene. How to do scene here? So if I select any particular scene, I don't think that I have any scene. Okay, there's no scene here. Okay, so if I select that scene and click on open, that means this guy, once I touch this, it will actually enter into this scene. So you remember how you actually put this from here, you get this particular one. So I'm not going to do that again. So the next one we'll have is this one here. Let me drag this out so you appreciate what's happening. The test area door. The test area door is actually the door for the test. So this one here, I seen that is selected there. So if you look at the code that we actually have here, you see that it's same process of body entered, and then the scene tree, the scene change, and then the resource path. So this is basically how you can be able to switch scenes when you're actually using visual scripting. It's a very simple code that you can actually be able to use. So I'm going to go down and I just have some directional lights that I've actually added to give light to my scene. Okay, all right. So now before I leave this 3D scene, because if you actually notice, when I start playing the game, if I actually play the game, you see that I have touch screen buttons. That's actually my touch screen button there. Look at it there. So we'll have that. Let me click on that, and you have the touch screen buttons. So these touch screen buttons are combined with my 3D scene and the character controller itself. So if you click on this, let's say this up, if you come down, you see that you have to drag in the picture from, let's say this is a picture, you just click and drag it and put it in this place. That's normal means when it's pressed. If you want to change the shape or the color when it's pressed, you can put another picture here. All right, so now action is UI up. Okay, now if you have watched my video on how to create a 3D character controller using visual scripting, you actually see this. So but we're going to actually review that when we start working, when we look at the character itself. Let me just go quickly to look at the character and just go up and find my character. Where's my character? My character should be somewhere here. If you look at it there, kinematic body. So I'm going to click on that. So if you look at this, I'm going to come briefly to this to tell you how it's a very complicated code over here. So what I actually want to show you is this. Click here and you see my UI UP underscore UP. So this thing here, this action is what you're going to add to here. You just have to type it. Okay, this one, the same thing, you just type the code UI down, this one, all right, UI left, that UI right. So you just put the picture and then you just type in the code from this place here. You see this thing here. So if there is another name for it, any action that it is, if you just click on it, you actually see the action itself. So that is how the touch screen for for mobile games will actually be able to sense it. So that's the touch screen. And if you're adding a touch screen, remember to actually add the canvas layer first, then make this touch screen. If you look at it, it's actually touch screen buttons. So if you look at the pop-up there, type touch screen buttons, this one is actually a canvas layer. So all these are touch screen buttons. So if you just right click and add a touch screen, something like this here, touch screen, you can actually be able to add that particular type of game, node. So I have this, I place it here, and once I play my 3D game, you'll be able to actually see it. Okay, so I wouldn't want to test any of the games now until I'm done with everything. So if you want to actually see the entire movement of the entire overview of the game, just normal playing of the game, you actually go to my channel, and I think I'll put a link below for the game itself, so you can just look at it. So the next thing here we want to talk about is the character itself. So I think this is one of the most complicated part of it, because let me just quickly play this game so that you actually if you have not watched that video, so you will not be lost. You actually see what we are trying to drive to. So it's taking a bit time. So if I do that now, I have my game loading. So let's wait a bit for it. Okay, so we'll have this here. So I can use my arrow keys and move forward, okay, and I can use these controls to go back or turn to the right or go forward, right? So I can actually do this particular thing. So this will actually come up here. So we have been able to animate this character, and so this character can be able to respond to these buttons. It can move forward, but not just that, it can also animate. So now I want to show you the one of the most complicated codes in this particular project. So I'm going to click on that. So the first thing we'll have the process. Okay, so the process actually runs once the game starts. It starts running this code. So if I remove this, nothing here will run. So I will tell it whenever this is my condition. Whenever this action, the up button, that's this the up arrow, the arrow up is pressed, it should move and collide. Okay, so this will enable it whenever it actually touches a particular static body or a physics body, it will actually not go over it. So I have this particular one. So I have on the x-axis, that's where it's actually moving. So if you go to the 3DC, you see that let me select this guy and show you my x-axis. See the red? I see the red x-axis. So it's minus because this is positive, the other side is negative. So forward is negative. So, and that's the reason why I made it to be minus 0.03. So this will actually move the entire character forward. Okay, so now see the interesting part. Now just forget about these ones, let's understand everything here first. So if you want to get distance, it's very simple. Just right click and move and collide. So that's you just click on that and you just select inside and type in this thing and press enter key. So you can just type in 1 and press enter and it will become part of it. So you can press 0. So let's leave it that way. So now we have our set active. Set active is actually what plays the animation. Now I might not be able to go deep into the whole breakdown of the animation process because I'll actually have to make a video on that. It will take a longer time for me to break that down. But I animated a character inside Blender. So after animating it, I exported it with the animation into Godot Engine and created an animation. If you actually click on this scene, you actually see the main scene up here. So you see I have my kinematic body. This is my character. Let me just go in here and so you appreciate what is happening. So this is my character there. So my character came in with the very simple character. It came in with animation player. That's from what I actually animated it inside Blender. So I just added an animation tree, okay, and then have my animation nodes. I think I will have to do this in another video because it's a bit complicated to actually work with. So I have here the animation node blend tree. The animation node blend tree. So that's this here. So when you add this animation node blend tree and you assign it to animation player, this animation player here, okay, now you can just right click and select animation. So when you select this animation, you can be able to select the animation you want. So I have a lot of animations here, so you can select the work cycle and just select add it to the output. The output will always be there. If it's not there, you can just go for search for it and actually find it. You just connect to the output, so it will always be looping. Understand? If it's not looping, there is a button for looping the animation inside the animation player. I won't want to select this because it might begin to hang a bit if I actually try to play it here. So basically, this work cycle, this animation that we have created here, when we select here, you see that you can make it active. So if you make it active, it plays it inside here. All right. So right now, see what we want to do. So I'm going to go back to my 3D scene. So what we did was that I had to use that particular code. Okay, let me just stay here because this is where I have the main code. So I had to select this one. Let me go to script. I had to, like I told you before, you can always be able to drag in codes from here. I just drag this in and clicked it there and change this to true and just connected it to this one. So now what the code is doing is that whenever the game starts, if you press this up, it will check whether this pressed. If it's pressed, if it's true, it will move, and as it's moving, it will move also the animation. It will run the animation at the same time. All right. Now the interesting part now. Okay, let me get these guys down so that we'll have a bit space. Okay, so we'll have this here. Let me drag this out too, so we'll have a bit space to work. So if you look at here, what's happening here now, just watch. So I now did a second code. So this second code, I told it that whenever I now told you something. Okay, wait, let's do this here. So I now gave it another button here, action for up arrow, and I told it for false. So when this thing is false, if the button has been released, please stop playing the animation. All right. So it's a bit complicated, but I want you to understand it. So you have the condition here, and we'll have the action. The same thing that we'll have here is here, but this time around you click on it and you change this to just release. So when it's released, once it meets this condition, it should stop the animation. So the reason why is this, I had to put this code because I found out that when I didn't put this code, if I press the up arrow, it will keep on playing the animation even when I release the key. So I had to stop it by putting this code. So when it's released, if it's false, that means if the button now is no more pressed, okay, and it has been released, please stop the animation. All right, it doesn't have to move, it doesn't have to do anything, just stop the animation. So now when it's done, it's going to check another condition. So the next condition is that it will check whether the UI down has been pressed. So if the UI down has been pressed, it will move it on the positive x-axis. Okay, if you remember what I told you, the x-axis is actually backwards. So if you look at that, you see my x-axis. Let me go into my 3D scene so you see what is happening here. Now there's a bit control issues here because of the way it was imported. So the axis here is a bit different from the axis inside here, so but that's not really an issue. So if you look at here, you have my x is positive over here, so that's the reason why my code here is okay, let me get that code again. So that's the reason why my code is actually positive here. So I'm going on positive axis, but it's actually backwards. So it sets the animation again to true. So it's going to check again false if the condition is the UI down, that's the down arrow is pressed, is released. It should also do what, set it to be false. Okay, so you have that there, and you can always change it from here to just released. So the same pattern, you just see. So it's just the same steps that you actually take. You have just pressed, and then you have condition here, and you have now this is the difficult part. So I want you to brace up for this particular one. So if you look at here, I have a bit some very serious looking codes here. So how I got this, if you click here, you see that this node is actually for the world node, the main node. We actually use this particular code. So this one is for the character itself. So this is how I actually got it. So this is for rotation. I'm telling you that when you press the right arrow, I want you to be turning right, okay, to move towards the right, and also it should turn right, okay, and then when you move up, it should move towards that direction. So you have to use this two. If you don't use this two, if you use only this one, it will just turn, but the axis will not actually work. So maybe when I will do a detailed tutorial on this, I will demonstrate to you and you actually see the difference between this. So how I got this particular one is that I had to go to the 3D scene, okay, so you have to go to the parent scene here. Like I told you, you can always drag out things. Drag this one from the parents, the main special node, the main parent node here. Just drag it in, and you're going to, once you drop it, you type rotate, because you actually want to rotate it. So you're going to use this vector 3. So when you do that, you actually have this particular thing here. So you have to actually play around with the axis here for you to actually get what you're looking for. So you have here -1 is what I used here, depending on your scene, and then I use here 0 point. You have to actually use a very tiny number, because if you use a huge number, it will be rotating at a very high speed. So I have this here, okay. So that's how I got this. So if you look at this, you see the same. It's telling you that this node is a bit far. It's actually in another. I'm using a code inside this one. This is like a parent node, okay. That's the reason why it's giving us this relative address here. So this other one here that I added here was from the code, is from this character itself. So let me just go down to the character, and I just have to drag this out and also move. Sorry, not move, rotate. Move is for moving it, so I'm talking about rotate here. The same rotates vector 3. So you see here, it said rotates the local transmission around axis a unit vector 3 by specified angle in radians. So if you click and open it, you see that it will show you this kinematic, just like this one here. I see that they're the same thing. So if you select that, you can just be able to click on that one. So this the one here is like let me show you something here. The y-axis is the axis like this. So if you rotate anti-clockwise, that's negative. You rotate clockwise, that's positive, okay. So we are rotating right, that will be positive. So if you look at our right button there, okay, let me just go back to that. I think that should be our right button that we have here, right? So that's the reason why we have this thing rotating positive. So it's rotating positive here, all right. So but the thing here is that, like I told you, the axis here work in a very different way for the world. The one for the character is actually positive, but the one for the world itself is negative. So sometimes you actually put it's not going to work. You have to actually play around with this values, these 4 values, for you to be able to actually get the accurate rotation. If not, it's sometimes you actually do it and it's not going to work very well, depending on how you imported your character. So once you do this, you select the angle to, so you can go for 0 minus 0.01, okay. So and then you just connect it and it will be able to play. So after that, you just connect it to this our let's connect it back again to this. All right, so we'll have this here now, okay. So I think mistakenly remove this particular code here. So after that, you still do the same thing. If it's false condition, that means when the right arrow, arrow key is actually released, it should stop the animation too. So this one will set the animation playing, but once you release, it should stop the animation. Then you have also for the left button. So when the left button is pressed, it should do the same thing. So you look at this one, it's still the same from the main world, okay. I will brought in this, the rotate vector, and then this one is the kinematic for the player itself. We just drag it in. So here if you look at the difference between these two, you have here is negative, here is negative, here is positive, or here is negative, here is negative, here is positive, and here is negative, and here is negative. So there is no accurate distance depending on how your scene is, like I've always said. So just walk around with these values here, and you can be able to actually get an accurate turning animation. So here you also still set the animation again, all right, to be playing. So you just select the animation player and you drag it in here. So if it's not available here, you won't be able to see it here. So what you do is that you have to select the main scene here, because your character has to be a different scene on its own that you're going to import. And you select the animation tree player and then drag this one inside here. All right. So that's how you basically bring in all the codes that you will be needing for the entire design. So and lastly, the last code here is just the false. So if it's released, it should stop the animation. So that's how you actually create the whole walking character animation. You can move around. So I'm going to actually do a more detailed tutorial on this particular one. I'm going to do it from scratch, starting from the creation of a character and importing it and every other thing. So we can actually see that we can create 3D scenes inside Godot Engine. So next one here is a text. So this is the one of the most complicated ones. So I'm just going to come in here. So this one will test the person that have gone through the entire interactive classes. So the interactive class we'll see very soon. So it should be able to know the right answer. Okay. So this, when you click on this one, so you see if you click here, once you click, when the button is pressed, it should play a sound. Okay. This sound was attached to it. Let me show you. That's the audio stream player. So if you want to do that, just right click and you see audio stream player 2D. You just add it. When you add it, let me select it. You go and select the audio and drag it inside here. Look at how we drag, just like how you drag the picture. Just drag the audio and you drag it inside this stream here. So if you click here, so this is the sound that is actually there, but it's not playing very well due to some reasons. Then maybe this one is not actually working. So if you come over to, let me go back here. So this one now is a signal. So the signal here, if I go back to my node, you see when it's pressed. Okay. This is a bit much of the most complicated part of it. Now actually I had to do a lot of coding here, but let me show you something here. If I click on this, so I have what I was trying to do here. When the button is pressed, it should set the playing and set this visible, wait for 2 seconds, and then set another scene, set visible. This is a scene that we'll actually have here. This is for the right answer. Okay, this is a button for the right answer, because I had to actually code each of the right answers differently. So if you look at here now, when the button is pressed, I think I have to use this is a victory sound. So let me show you the victory sound. So it will actually play that sound. So that's actually what is actually happening here. So that's a correct sound. Okay, correct. So it will set, when it does that, it will set a particular thing visible, and it will wait for 2 seconds and set another thing invisible. There's a lot of things going on here. I think I will have to actually make a code for that particular part. But what it actually does is this. When you actually click on this, I think the first one here is A. It will say A. This button here will make it actually say A. Alright, so it will just say the word A. Okay, so when it says it, then you have to identify the right one. So if it selects G, that's the wrong one. So when you do that, it will give you a wrong. This shows that it's the wrong question. Okay, that is not the right answer. If you click on B, it will still show you that this is the wrong answer. All right, but then if you click on A, it will send out there's a code that we actually did. There's a bigger code here. So the bigger code is somewhere at the top here. Let me show you here. See here, class test. So if I click on that, you see here all those signals for question A. This is the first question. This is A. Button A, question 1. This. So I think this one would be maybe I have to design a quiz game for this, so that I actually explain how this was done. So, but before I come to that part, I just want to explain all this for you. So the home will enable me to just go back to my home, to just change my scene back to home the same way we have been changing scenes before. So the other thing here is this is just basic scene design, just sprite and everything. So if you look at here, let me snap this so that you actually see what's happening. So each of the question was designed as a sub node on their own. So I have, although I encountered a bug here that made me to begin to rename some few things because of they actually started giving some errors. So if you look at here, you have question 1, and then you now have some things being repeated. Well, there are basically about 7 to 8 questions here. So if you look at here now, it's actually 10 questions, sorry, 10 questions that we actually have. So if you look at here, the question here, let me just close this. Is I seen this? So this one is the one that is active. If I click on this one is the next one. So what I had to do was, whenever you click on any of the codes here, all right, this one sets the wrong button on. It shows you the wrong button and plays the sound that that what you actually said is actually wrong. Let me click on it. Okay, you wait for 2 seconds and set the other button here false. That this particular, it sets this question 1 to be invisible, and then sets every other thing around it to be visible, then sets the next scene. This is question 2. I seen that question 2, it sets it visible. How we'll do that is that, let me just show you how I did that. If you click here now and go down, so here now, let me select the first one. If you go to visibility, you can bring in a code that tells it when to be visible and when not to be visible. Okay, and this one, the same thing, you just get visibility, you can turn it off. All right, so that means that whenever you press that button, it will set this one off and set this one visible after 2 seconds. That's just basically the summary of it. I won't want to explain all the entire code because it's a bit long, so we'll actually save time. So that's basically how we did all this, so that it can be able to, you can have different answers. So this one says this one visible and sets itself invisible. That's a button there. The next one sets itself invisible and sets the next one visible. So these are just different pictures I was placing on the same scene. On the same, this background is static. Okay, this one is also invisible. It's also repeated. So I have different pictures. This one is different. The next one is different from this one. So I have to get this 1, 2, 3, 4. I have to keep on repeating it for each of the questions. So each one had, this one had its own sound, this one had the correct or wrong button. You understand? So if it's wrong, it will play the wrong sound. If it's wrong, it plays the wrong sound. If it's right, it plays the right sound, and then it adds the value. Okay, so it also adds let me just quickly do that one. It also adds, sends out a signal that adds a particular thing. So if you look at here, this is actually a signal. So that's when the button is actually pressed for the right answer. So now let's go to the final thing about the test here. So if you look at here now, I made it with that this, remember the process when it starts. So it's going to set my text to it will get my score of my value. So if you look at here, I have my value for my scores to be 0. So it's going to set it. Okay, so once you just connect, it will actually change the integer into a string. Okay, so it's going to set that, and we'll have this. So this is the current value. I don't think I will be able to actually explain all this. I have to show it to you. So but the whole idea is that each time when it starts, it sets the original thing here. Okay, it gets a score, and we'll have here a plus 60. Okay, so we'll have here 50. I think there is something that is happening here. Let me leave this code. I think this code is a bit problematic over here. Let's talk about this code first before we come back to that code. So whenever that right button is pressed, it will add to the score. Okay, it will add 10 to the score. So it is meant to be adding 10 each time. So if one mark gotten will be 10. So it adds a score 10 and sets there's a music is going to play. All right. So that music is the correct button. It will play it and then set the correct button visible, and then it's going to wait, and then it's going to set the entire scene invisible. I think I had to achieve much of other things here because I had to use a lot of codes repetitions here. So if you look at here, it's going to be difficult for me to explain all this, but these things are setting different pictures or different sprites off and on. All right, like I told you about this particular scene here, where you set these things off and then set the next question to be visible. So the same thing is what we'll have here. So we'll have this, but remember that this thing was added to the test main script, so they are more like buttons that were added to this place. So we have the add score, set playing, and the same thing here. This one is the right answer, right answer, right answer for each of the questions. So about 10 questions, all of it. Okay, so at the end of it, you have this particular thing here. You seen this here. So all these things will be adding the score. It will be giving it 10 marks. Okay, 10 marks each time you actually get the right thing. So this particular one here, let me see if we'll have okay, it should be up here. So this thing here should give us it should get the final score for us. Okay, once it gets the final score, although I don't think this actually worked, I was trying to make it, if it actually gets a value that is greater than or equal to 60, it should play a sound. It should be you won. But if you should get something that is less than or equal to 50, it should play a sound of the sound that you actually lost. Okay, so but I think this code actually had a problem, but it's actually this is what it's meant to do. So but it wasn't responding, this code at the top here. So it's meant to actually check whether you scored above 60 and to tell you you won. This is meant to play a sound called won, like you won, a kind of victory sound, while this one to get a score and check whether you actually scored below 50, and then to play a sound. So but this is the main code that actually adds the score, okay, and displays whatever will be displayed at the end. If you actually watch the video, I'll put the link in the description. You watch the video and you actually see how it was done. So I'll be making more videos on this to show step by step how these things will achieve. So lastly, I have here my video lessons. So the video lessons is a part of the game where you just click on the play video and play the animation. So how I did that was I used an animated sprite and added if you go into inspector, you can add new sprite frame, and you add different pictures, and when you add different pictures you can tell it to play, right? So if you play, it will play each one differently. Okay, so I can just select let's select that again. Okay, let me set back my frame to 0. Okay, so you can play it. So the same way is how I use the code from here to actually play the thing. So the play video is that button in the front there. Let me select that. So this is the play video, so let me click on that. So it means that whenever you press this button, you should set as a music playing. There's a sound that is going to play. All right, that's the music is like that music actually plays in the background. Okay, let me just briefly show you that. So if you play that, so the sound is, it will play sound and then it will start playing the animation itself. So it's playing two things. So once it displays the entire thing here, if you click on it, it starts playing the sound. It plays animation and also the music. Okay, so this one is the animation. So let's see it here. See the animation sprite. So and this one is the sound audio stream player. That's how you actually play the animated scene for the animated alphabets. So the interactive class is actually one of the major things here. So each button has its own sound. So if I click here now, you see that I made it sure that when you press the button, so if you click here, you just click there and you type press. I seen that there. So once you click on the press, once you get this press function, you are telling it that it should play sound. The sound is going to play is this sound. Look at that sound there. You just click and drag this inside here. Okay. So now what other thing I did was that I now use the sound that I told you to use was this sound here. Okay, so got a resource. Although you don't really need to do this, you can just simply drag this inside here, and as you click on this, it will play it. All right. So, but just for effective thing, I actually use the get resource and preload to be able to do all these things. But that's the first code I use. You can actually remove this completely and still have the game actually play. When you actually click on that button, it will respond directly to you. So I think that was the code I actually used the first time I was working. I was using it directly. I was using the preload. The preload I had to actually go to. Let me show you something here. I had to go to where I had my sounds. So let me say this sound. I had to drag it in here to get this preload. Okay. Then right click and go for resource. Okay. And okay, I think it's get resource. Let me use get resource there. Get resource. Let me see there. Get resource. So if you look at here, get resource path. I seen that there. So and then you can now connect it to this. So it will connect this sound to that board. Except you have issues connecting it directly from here. Okay. So if you want to connect directly from here, you just simply select this and just drag this in and just drop it and then connect this to this. Okay, so that's the fastest way to play the animation. All right. So if I do that now, okay, let's try that out. This is our button. Let's see the button. Which button is that? Button Apple. Okay, so let's say we do that. Let's go into scripts. I'm going to, let me delete this one so I don't get confused. And let's delete this one too. Sorry, let's go back and go what is happening here. Take this out, take this out. So I'm going to remove this. So I'm going to tell it Apple. Once you start, please play. Let's see this. Apple. Apple. Let's get this inside here and take this and join this and change this to true. Now, if I should play this game, you'll actually see that there is no need for us to do that long code. That was when I actually said first I was using a very long code, but later I found out that you can actually do it directly from here. So let's click on Apple and see what's going to happen here. So you can just do that directly from there. You don't really need to do the long process, okay? So, but I'll just leave the code for the meantime the way it is. Apple. So I'll just leave it like that. So just to tell you that you can also do the long way. There are several ways you can actually be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. So that is basically how I was able to connect all of them. Okay, the next we'll set the next button, because these things here we are designed as different. I had to design them as different scenes. Okay, so this button here, use that the same change scene code to set it to the next one. So if you look at here, press change scene lesson 2. So interactive lesson 2, it will change it to this one. The same thing, the button there will change it to lesson 3. You have lesson 4, lesson 5, so we'll have till Z. Okay, so if you want to know how these things were gotten, if you just select that, this is a button, and the button I just have to drag in the text. inside it. I designed the text inside the icon here. All right, and then you click on this expand icon so that it will enable you to be able to resize it and make it properly arranged. So that's just basically everything in this game. So everything here in this game is a codeless game. There is no single line of code, and everything was designed using Visual Scripting and Godot Engine. So it was a very delightful project. It took some time to figure out some few things, and I will be making more detailed videos on different parts of this video game here. It's a very simple video game, and just stay tuned, subscribe, and I'll see you some other time.